Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of MINE MAYDAY, the show all about Spider-Girl and her world. And if you got me, Zach Joyner, friendly neighborhood host of the Spideydude Radio Network, we have the host of the show. Hello, Kelly.
Hi. There we go. Okay. There was a delay. Okay. Hello.
So we've got Kelly, we've got me, but tonight we have a very special guest. And if you are a Spider-Girl fan and you've been in part of the fandom for any length of time, this person needs very little introduction, but he is known as the immortal Frogoat. Hi, Frogoat. How you doing, brother?
Hello.
Yay! I have been saying we should interview you for a very long time on the show, so I'm excited.
Yes, you've gotten many frequent shout-outs across the 60 episodes.
I appreciate that.
So tell us a little bit about the superhero origin story of the Frogoat.
Comics?
Yeah, comics-wise. Yeah, how did you get into comics?
Oh, okay. I do have an answer for this. When I was about 8 or 9, my mother took me to a newsagent and bought me a copy of Spider-Man Chapter 1, Issue 7.
Okay, 99.
Yep.
Okay.
I read it. It was awful, but I read it about 6 times. And then the next week I asked for more, and she bought me a 5-pack, and it had a certain issue of a certain series in it. And I've been a fan ever since.
Oh, wow. What was the issue? What issue number?
Spider-Girl issue 3.
Nice.
Fun and games with the Fantastic Five.
That is awesome. So it's funny because that was what Spider-Girl was supposed to be. It was supposed to be put in the little bags and sold in mass retailers. So you kind of got that experience, even though it was just a bunch of Marvel comics, I suppose. So did it cost did you have to pay well, you probably don't even know how much you paid because your parents bought it for you.
Yeah, I just hollered to my mother and she got it for me.
That's awesome. So then do you have a complete run of Spider-Girl?
Of Spider-Girl? Yes.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Kelly?
Me? All right.
I'll let you ask a couple questions.
Yeah. I'm actually a little bit out of it, guys, because once again, Zach has not followed script. He jumped straight into the questions this time, which is okay. We're good. We don't have anything to announce.
That's true. That's true.
We can wait for my rant on AI towards the end.
Yeah. Well, and we'll talk a little bit about the trade towards the end as well. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah. All right. So my question is, how did you get? Obviously, you just answered. How did you get into Spider-Girl? But what really made you fall in love with the character and really get into the series and collect the series?
Oh, that's a good question. I think just when you read somebody's work for so long, you start to sort of connect with the character, and I don't know, the way it's written, the narration, that perspective really brought me into the character, and then from then on, I don't know, it's really hooked me.
Well, you mean obviously you read your first comic was Chapter 1, which my condolences. I know
yes, thank you.
Every comic is someone's first, and look, at least it had good artwork. I mean, John Byrne is a good artist,
no doubt. Yeah,
but it was just like a Funhouse mirror version of the Spider-Man mythos. But and I know there's probably gonna be some ardent defenders from the Byrne message boards that are gonna throw tomatoes at us, and that's fine. But is this Byrne? I don't even know if Byrne's message board still exists, but
I mean, any message boards still exist. Truly,
I do not recommend visiting that board.
No, or most subreddits.
That's true.
Yeah.
Except ours, except the Spider-Girl subreddit, which is modded by Frogoat. You created the subreddit, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
nice.
The one that is it's gotten a huge amount of uptick lately. New
very happy about
fans. I'm worried too, but right now I think it's just a bunch of really excited global fans that fell in love with the character after the movie. So little misguided sometimes, but they mean well. So I'm I'm happy about that.
We're trying to steer them, steer them away from their own headcanon.
Steer them away from the crazy AI. I'm gonna continue talking about that. I've told y'all the story. If Marcy joins, she'll be able to explain a little bit more in the comments.
Oh.
It was a fun time. But all right, I'm gonna move on to Zach's next question.
Sure.
Which speaking of message boards.
Yes. How did you first discover the Alvaro's Spider-Girl message board?
So before Google was known to me, I actually had to go looking for URLs, and eventually I stumbled upon that one. So yeah.
Yeah. Did you back then? Did you stumble upon Spideydude.com?
Unfortunately, no.
Oh,
actually, no. I tell a lie. I think I saw it when it was in its earlier version with lots of animated GIFs.
Yep. Yeah, that was when my dad was running it. So yeah, that would be yeah. Well, at least you discovered it. That's all that matters. And you were also on the crawl space message board too, right?
Oh yeah, every now and then.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I know you posted more in the Spider-Girl, and you were on the Spider-Man one too. The Alvaro had like multiple boards for each character. For those that don't know, and Spider-Girl had one, and then Spider-Man had the other. So I think the Spider-Man one was first, and then Spider-Girl was kind of the spinoff. So, yeah. So you now, this is not in our list, but I just thought of this. Did you participate in you participate in the letter writing campaigns, right?
Yes.
Back in the day, I didn't know if you had contributed.
I do remember writing a handwritten letter and sending it in.
Oh, yours was handwritten.
Ooh.
Okay, that's more impressive. I gotta say, I'm sure that when they got a letter from Australia handwritten, that probably carried a little more weight than my piddly little typed out letter that I.
It depends if they could read it. I have pretty bad handwriting.
Well, I mean, I got chicken scratch myself, So, okay, Kelly.
Yeah. All right. So, what made you want to create your blog, A Comic Odyssey? Which Zach, you better link in the show notes.
It will absolutely be linked.
And on YouTube.
Yes. Hang on. In fact,
and on all social media.
I will. Yes, I'm pulling it.
Thank you.
Right.
And you need to print it on your shirt.
Yes.
Well, I could probably print it on my forehead, considering how much.
Let's we can have Zach have it tattooed on his forehead.
So with the blog, I think it was just the series that ended in 2010, and there was that sort of bleak period where there wasn't really anything happening, and this was before Spider-Verse, so it was, I don't know, I felt like I needed some sort of outlet, so I don't know, felt like something to do.
That is, for our audio listeners, I have put the link in the banner up, so you can go bookmark it, and there is hours upon hours of reading that you can peruse.
Very insightful. I think Ryan in their comments just called them blog posts, but to me they're essays. So Frogoat's website is just a series of essays, mostly focused on MC2, but there's a lot of research, a lot of to me, you can see how much you love the series and you love the lore through your research and through your essays. And so, that, speaking from someone who does the same, but maybe, mostly in a different medium, like through podcasting or through cosplay, it's always nice to see, because it's nice something to connect and kind of go, hey, like somebody gets me, somebody understands the series the way I see the series, even though I do think me and you have disagreed on a few things lore wise, but that's just, I chalk that up to Tom and Ron. in their interviews, like, because certain things have changed over the years, where they've said, oh yeah, this is direct, and then it's like, nah, not quite, because as the series rolled out,
Absolutely.
the lore expanded. So, and then speaking of Tom and Ron, Zach, your next question.
Yeah. So, how obviously Tom and Ron were such a huge part of the message board back in the day. So I know how I always felt every time they interacted with me back then, and even now I still fanboy out, as we talked about before the show. How does it feel when you got that interaction or that validation between like Tom or Ron on the message board and then eventually on social media?
It's absolutely surreal. I mean, these people are in print, and they're such a huge part of the stuff I grew up reading, and even when you go back and read the back issues, like these are like legends, celebrities to me. And then you're sending me a message. I'm thinking, is this real?
Is this a scammer? Is this right? No, there is a bit of like a disconnect. I understand what you say with that, because like sometimes I'm like pinching myself. I'm like, I can consider Ron a friend. Like what is my life now? Like if you told my 12-year-old self or 13-year-old self when I first started joining message boards, he'd have been like, no, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, I also think that, and Kelly, I'm not going to speak for you, but at least for me, that also was a highly motivating factor to try to do this show, to preserve to tell and educate everybody about the journey that it took to get here, this odyssey, if you will, for these characters. And so but I do feel like there's a little bit of like sort of like, holy crap, like these people are like these legends in our minds, and they're just some of the most down to earth, nicest people that you'll ever be around, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's speaking on, for me, it's very much like that celebrity. Like I can't get over it in the sense of, it's like, okay, well, I have to do, like, I'm probably more nervous and more excited to see them. I fangirl out far more in those interactions than I do with bigger name celebrities I've met. Because do not ask me why. It's like I can be totally chill and have like Sam Whitmer walk past me at a convention.
Yeah.
But like Ron comes into the chat and I clam up. So
yeah, every time Ron would jump in the chat, like watching us live, it would be like, wait, what?
Yeah. So
that would be terrifying.
Right? Okay, thank you. Like it's terrifying in a good way. I don't want to say it's bad, but it's like very much like, oh no, they see it. They've seen it. And it's like, how many times have I probably, if I go back and listen, I'd probably cringe or stick my foot in my mouth. Because we all do it, especially once you get comfortable on camera. So it's like, ooh, or like I've brought up like a really, something not necessarily controversial, but like I've gotten like deep into I think this is like what's happening in the lore. I think it would have to go this way. Or I'm calling out some, like, especially with the newer issues, I've called out some things that I just find really inappropriate for who's writing the character. And it's like, ooh, like I hope I'm coming across not weird or like ranty, I guess.
Not comic book guy type. Like
yeah. So that's why it's like, ooh. So yeah, and so that's why it's always like, oh my goodness, they're watching.
Yeah, which is like, I think it's also that it's terrifying, but it's also the ultimate form of validation, that they're willing to listen to what we have to say, and they're interested enough in what our opinions are that they're willing to sit there and listen, even if they don't agree. And I think that's, we kind of, and just the amount of interactions we've had. I got that pleasure last year getting to meet Tom. And so, he is just such a nice guy, and it was him and
good looking.
Yeah.
Yeah. You haven't, you've been struck speechless by Pat.
Yeah.
You've complimented Ron, told him how ravishing he was multiple times.
I was trying to think of like
You really haven't like gone into
Tom.
into anything about Tom. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he is he's about the same height as me, and so like you know, he is a Titanic figure that
Titanic.
Yeah, Titanic Tom DeFalco. That was his nickname.
Okay.
You know, like he's just a titan, you know, in a lot of ways.
There you go. Okay.
But he is just so like obviously I've interviewed him I think 3 or 4 times between all the shows, and he's just extremely humble. And I remember asking John Romita Jr. because he was also at the same convention, and we had a meet and greet that I went to. And, you know, I asked John, I was like, what do you think of Tom DeFalco? He goes, Tom DeFalco is the biggest sweetheart that you could ever meet. And that truly is like how he was with everybody. At the con. And I think it also helped that it was a smaller con. It'd be interesting to see how he is like at Dragon Con when it's like a much bigger venue.
When it's insane. I mean, they're going to sequester all the comic combo people in America's Mart, which is still not my favorite decision. Mostly just from the fact that most of your comic book cosplays are generally on the Hilton steps. And so that's I'm trying to think of like what blocks actually are. But I would say you're probably a good 2 to 3 blocks away. And so it's not conducive for people that people that are wanting to kind of show off the character, walk around as the character. They're really not going to walk that far to America's Mart. I've tried. I have tried so hard. You know, just as somebody that handles the photo shoots, to try to get everybody to go over there, try to at least like show, like, look, don't you want to show off your costume to the people that have written and drawn this character
or designed
it? Yeah. And it's not, it's a little hard because it's not, America's Mart, while it is really, really big. So it's really good for, like Artist Alley and the dealers rooms. And I'm sure like and now like the gaming areas have all been moved over there. It's just kind of like on the complete opposite side from where the cosplay and costumes and stuff like that are generally. So yeah, I mean, I'm still going to hang out there. I also really don't want to deal with the line, because I'm talking about like for security purposes, there's only one entrance and one exit into America's Mart. And it is Dragon Con. It's not fun. Like you have to dedicate your entire day, and that's my thing. I've talked about this so much about like the comic panels, because they stick them over there because they're trying to think about, oh, well, you'll probably be at your booth and you'll want to kind of hang out there, so we'll just put the panels here. And it's like, okay, but if somebody wants to be in a panel, they now have to they don't get to go run from one hotel to another and then go into the room. They have to get in line for people that are literally trying to get into the dealer's room, or trying to get to gaming, to a gaming tournament. And I'm like, this is absolutely insane. Like, I have been complaining about it. It's one of the reasons I want a media badge, if anybody's listening, or anything that I could use to bypass said line or use some other line, because it's like, I can't, like, it's not conducive to what my obligations at the convention. But of course, I'm Schrodin's, like, I am a volunteer, yet not a volunteer. That has been the case for a decade now. I do a lot for Dragon Con, but I'm not an official volunteer. I'm not an official panelist. I'm not an official anything, because the photo shoots are not an official track, even though it's been talked about. But I think when that happens, they're going to get managed by just a really small set of people.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that's going to work either, because it's a lot. Y'all, I'm sure y'all have seen the massive Marvel superhero forms cosplay shoots.
Yeah. Yeah.
That take up 2 sets of stairs at the hill. Like, I mean, huge. Like, I've volunteered and helped with those. Like, it's a fun. Dragon Con is fun. Like all major conventions, there are pitfalls.
Yeah, no,
and so it's a fun thing, stressful fun to try to figure out how you're supposed to make your day go. But if Tom is listening, I am going to do my best to wait out those lines and come say hi and sit in a panel.
Yeah,
but it's a lot. Like, no. It's not as easy as the other sections.
Yeah, so I remember how San Diego did theirs. They had the convention floor. The panels were directly above the convention floor upstairs, and then Artist Alley was kind of like in this connection piece. And they had a big giant line that I was waiting in that I didn't realize I didn't have to wait in because there were 5 of us that went that year. I almost said Kelly. Stella and I got to go for Crawl Space, and then Josh and Donovan were there for Batman Universe, and then John got his badge, but he basically had a 4-day badge. He didn't have the preview night badge. So he had to wait in line to get his badge. But they had like multiple entrances. Like they had like 2 or 3 entrances. So the line moved fairly quickly, even though we were in the line for like an hour. Like it really, and plus it was San Diego, so it was like 75 degrees, which for Frogoat, let me convert that to Fahrenheit.
You mean Celsius? You're converting it to Celsius.
Yeah. So, yeah. There we go. Yeah, Celsius with Fahrenheit. So it is 75 degrees. It's like 24 degrees Celsius. So it was very pleasant, just beautiful. And it they had a little bit of a sea breeze, so it had like a cooling effect. So you're like, man, this is like perfect weather. This is why people move to California. And then I was like, hey, I have a press badge. So where do I need to go? When they're like, oh, just go to the front. So I was like, bye, John. I bypassed and just walked right in. They gave me I had my credentials, and then they gave me I think now it'd be like on the app on your phone, but I had to like print it out back then because it was 2011. But yeah, it seemed like that it was a little more, seems like a little less chaotic because it seemed like there was a little more planning.
Okay. Well, one, in fairness, San Diego Comic-Con is kind of more of an industry con.
Yeah,
it's done to reflect the upcoming and highlight a lot of things. Dragon Con sometimes will get some exclusives and sometimes get some highlights, but it is still a fan convention. It is still a non-profit
that's true. Yeah.
Fan run convention. It's mostly done by volunteers.
That's true.
So that's kind of, it's a
apples or oranges type thing.
A little bit, yeah, because I also think too, we're dealing with the fact that San Diego Comic-Con is also, like, while huge, everything is kind of like it's in a very large
the
conference center. Convention center versus Dragon Con started out on like basically in a hotel, like just those like conference rooms of a hotel, very tiny. Yeah. And instead of moving to to the World Congress Center or to a conference center in general, they just took up another hotel and then another hotel and then another hotel. And the fact that they are at least in America's Mart, which is a showroom, essentially, like it's kind of where traveling, most of the time industry-based stuff, traveling stuff goes, that is that space. But essentially the con, quite like Atlanta, has been Frankensteined into the monster that it is, because it's trying to fit itself in places that at this point it probably really shouldn't be.
Yeah, it sounds like it'd be best if they considered moving it to a convention center.
Yeah, but then we wouldn't have 3 a.m. Star Wars raves.
That's true. That's true. Now, Frogo, I don't know anything about like the comic scene in Australia, but do they have like a lot of conventions and stuff like that?
There's not a great deal of them. There's like some of the big ones like Supernova that's in I think Brisbane and Melbourne and the Gold Coast.
Okay.
There's
Now,
a few smaller ones.
yeah. Now, how far is that from your general direction?
3-4 hours drive.
No, okay. Okay, that's not completely terrible. You could do it within a day. You know, it's not like a whole day's drive. So, but I don't know. I don't know if like in the U.S., you know, especially like me in Texas because it's so big. You know, a 3-4 hour drive is like, oh, it's just like a stone's throw away. But I know that's not normal. We are weird in the U.S. with that. So I don't I don't know if the same mentality applies to Australia. So.
Yeah, it does. Down the road is usually a couple of hours.
Okay, all right. So it's like Texas.
Yeah.
And somewhat like Georgia, I guess. So let's see. Is it my turn? Oh yeah, my turn. So I just remembered and realized that we're both parents, both to our children that are both about to turn 10. I introduced Gabby to Spider-Girl. She associates it with Dad. Have you introduced Spider-Girl to your child?
Yeah, I've tried. He's not much of a comic reader at the moment. Five Nights at Freddy's seems to be his jam.
Oh, nice. Well, that's Kelly's.
That's like my nephew. That I think that's just it's a universal experience for most boys living today.
I'm guessing you'll be going to the cinema to see the sequel soon.
Yeah, whenever it comes out, and probably
Same.
have to take him to his first Halloween Horror Nights because allegedly there will be a Five Nights at Freddy's house. So
all of this is over my head, and you know.
I think like my son does like to play with the toys, and you know he asks me questions, but he's not big on the whole comic scene just yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, Gabby's kind of the same way. She was struggling to read, and then she's finally gotten to where she likes reading, and she's a huge Harry Potter nerd. So that was something her mom loves, and so that's their thing. They read Harry Potter every night before she goes to bed, and so that's something that certainly captured the imagination. I hope that she'll, you know, like comics, but if not, you know, it's okay. We can only try to indoctrinate our children so much, I suppose. I mean, share our passion and our hobbies with our children. I mean, that's not indoctrination, but so Kelly, what's your
yeah. All right. So we kind of touched base on message boards and had earlier, you know, advised that you had created the subreddit. So how do you like running the Spider-Girl subreddit, and you know, kind of what led you to create it?
I feel like the community needs like a little place that's all their own, that's focused, so that you can you know, get together with like-minded people. And there wasn't really, it wasn't there. There was that gap, so I thought maybe we should fill it.
well, I mean,
I was gonna
go ahead.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I was gonna follow up with just because I haven't seen any insane posts lately, so I don't know if Spider Girls is still a thing.
Don't no.
But yeah.
I think we should.
How was finding that out for the first time?
Well, that's also definitely a factor in. I want that to be further down the list, but unfortunately, it's right underneath.
Yeah.
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 Should we explain? Should we explain?
Yeah.
We should not.
we won't go into detail. All we have to say is just the Spider Girls subreddit is not about the little mini issues by Jody Hauser. It's It's
No.
it is something different that you
it a-
probably don't want to look at on a work computer.
Okay, so a Rule 34 situation type thing. Okay.
I feel
Well,
like the
it's like
subreddits need hyphens. That would really help differentiate things.
it would, but somehow they won't allow that. So
Knowing how some things are held together with duct tape, bubblegum, and prayers code wise, I'm sure it might just like completely wreck their code. But yeah, that would be really
Yeah.
nice, wouldn't it? Because like I know now, were you ever part of Sven's Discord?
Discord?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to it. I haven't found it. It was like there, and then suddenly it was gone. So I was like, I hope Sven's okay.
No, very ephemeral, like everything on the internet.
Yeah. How did you? Okay, so you obviously discovered Spideydude.com way back in the day, but when did you start? Did you start listening to the podcast at the beginning too?
The Clone Saga Chronicles, yeah.
Okay, and
I think there was a backlog of like maybe 30 episodes.
okay, yeah. And then did you ever you were a crawl spacer though? Like you were on crawl space back in the day. Like did you listen
on the message board every now and then? Yes.
Yeah. Did you listen to the show then?
The crawl space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I seem to remember, but I just I'm getting old, so I'm starting to forget things. I just had to ask, but no. First of all, thank you for listening, and being a part of the community. That I can say that absolutely, because without people actually taking the time to listen, then it was would have been a fruitless labor of love. So I appreciate your listenership. But yeah, so Kelly.
yeah. So so what is your favorite fandom memory? Like out of all of the fandoms, think about all of the history. What it like really sticks out to you as something that makes being in the Spider-Girl fandom so worthwhile?
I remember at one point on the early days on the Alvaro message board, they actually had like some fans. I think Jaka and Jeffers had some sort of competition. Like if you can answer this question in a certain age group, we'll send you some comics. And I feel really bad for this. I won, and they had to send international postage some Spider-Girl comics to me, which was greatly appreciated, especially because there wasn't any comics in my area at the time, like just nowhere outside of comic book shops, and I lived nowhere near a comic book shop, and I was way too young, so I couldn't actually get any of them. And it was just amazing to receive fans sending a young fan like myself at the time just this a care package. Basically, it was lovely.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah. I forgot. You know what? I think I remember that contest, and I lost because there was a lot of Spider-Girl that I didn't like between basically your same as your first issue 3 to when I started getting around Marked for Death at the comic store, and I had it on my pull list.
Ooh, that is a big gap.
Yeah, it was a huge gap. I had like gotten a few here and there, but for the most part. So then when we started working on the show, I eventually got all the digests, and I got all the whole run collected. So now I'm going to have it collected 3 different ways, thanks to the new trades. But Kelly, you got another question before we get all to all that, I suppose.
Well, I mean, do you want to skip over your collectibles question?
Oh gosh, yeah. No, I didn't want to skip that. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. Do you have any collectibles of like Spider-Girl, like beyond just the comics? Do you have like the figures or anything like that?
Yes.
Okay. What do you have?
I've got the Marvel Legends Spider-Girl figures. I got the Stinger action figure when it came in the 2-pack with Ant-Man. I actually got 2 of them. They're expensive.
Yeah.
I think they're the first appearances action figures, the 4-pack with American Dream, Stinger, Wild Thing, and Spider-Girl.
Yep. Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, I've got those. And the help me out here, please, Kelly. What's the one with the cloth costume?
Famous covers.
Yeah, so it's the famous covers. I think they're 12-inch. They're 12-inch dolls essentially.
Yeah, they're like kind of like the modern Migos.
Yeah, they're sort of like the Migos, but
they were done in the 90s.
Way higher quality.
Yeah, much. They're not held together with rubber bands. So yeah, that's the only one I still don't have that one actually.
Oh well, one of the action figures I don't have, I think that Kelly has, is the Earth X Venom.
Yes, yeah.
Very jealous of that.
That is what's so funny is when I bought that, there literally was somebody that was selling an entire box of them off eBay because they had just found, like, I guess from the Toy Fair of '99, which is the only place that anybody really recalls them being at, and there was just a whole box nobody had touched, and instead of them selling them individually, they were like, I think it was like $200 something. Do you want the whole box? But I just needed one, so
now we're
I
talking.
should have gotten the box, so then I could have just shipped them out.
Oh, okay. You know what?
You could retire on those,
right? I guess it's so funny because it's like, at the time I grabbed it, it was just because it fell, like I was searching for other toys and it fell into my lap. I didn't even realize it existed. But I was like,
I didn't know it existed until you mentioned it.
Yeah. And then everybody, like, it's so funny because it's like, is it really a rare toy? Because, like I said, I saw somebody selling a whole box. Like, is the issue maybe that the Toy Fair, they didn't keep like a great record of what they had at the Toy Fair, and then they just, it was in storage forever?
Somebody accidentally dropped them off the back of the truck.
Just like somebody stole Mary Jane's wedding dress.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking.
It's like, it's not, at least like US wise, it's really not that expensive.
It'd just be the postage.
Yeah. The postage would be the issue right now. But
let's see if we add to cart and see how much it is with postage.
Well, it's going to go to your address, Zach. So
holy crap!
Yeah,
that's as much as a Marvel Legend.
Yeah, that's the. I mean, that's really the only issue is just like finding somebody that will like ship it to you.
That's not it's also eBay, so they also like because
I don't have much luck with eBay.
Yeah, eBay's a crapshoot.
You have to know how to search, like, and you have to be willing, like, basically, kind of like, you have to have the resolve. You probably won't find what you're looking for in one day.
Okay, you did, and Gabby's had it, so I haven't had it in my. You did send me one of the like an unboxed famous covers. Yes, you did. I forgot about that.
So, for listeners. Zach brought up a Vinkman comment where Vinkman had reminded Zach that
I forgot about that. He
had given him a open Spider-Girl.
Yes, the famous covers, and for a while, Gabby was sleeping with that every night. She would like hold it and sleep. It was very cute. So,
all right. So my next question is: if you could write or help create a new Mayday series, who would you like to see appear? Do you have thoughts on where certain characters might be in the future or like would be in your new series?
Ooh, okay. I'm not really good with writing fiction. Well, I mean, obviously I wouldn't write it. That would be a terrible idea. Just bring Tom and Ron back, or Pat if he wants. And that's a great question. I mean, a lot of people sort of want to do the college thing. I think there's enough room to play before that, rather than advancing it straight away. I'd like to see it sort of like classic Spidey, where you just watch the character grow up first. But I haven't really given it much thought.
Yeah, that's always been one thing. I think a lot of people want to just throw her in college, and I'm like, she's 16 canonically.
Yeah.
At the end of Spider-Girl, the end. This kind of need to sit there and make her be 17 or 18, which I guess now I suppose she's more close to 18.
Well, I think. Well, see that we don't know.
Well,
But
it's
I think that's the situation. Is I do think that the newer stories have kind of skewed her a little closer to 18 for reasons,
That may or may not be gross.
May or may not be gross. Yeah. I think that's where a lot of people go with the college route. I also, me personally, I think the college route would be an easier, clean slate after everything that's kind of happened, thanks to all the Spider-Verse stuff and all the weird, let's write these fast stories with artists that have no idea who the character is, but we're only giving them 2 weeks to write this this webcomic. And nobody's checking it, nobody's questioning it. So when things are very weird, oh no, that's 982. What are you talking about? You're you're crazy. You, the fan, are crazy. Which that's a whole other precedent by Nick Lowe that I have a massive problem with. I know we're supposed to be nice to Nick Lowe, but
I know
he needs to apologize. But the whole, there's a whole lot of there. So I kind of understand where people think like that, because I also think it's how do you clean up
it's
the
a
pieces?
mess.
Yeah, because even bringing Peter back, having him be a giant spider, getting him turned back, having him magically grow a leg.
Oh boy.
It's a situation that it's like, if you start it immediately, because there's no way you can even go, okay, it's been 6 months since all of this happened, everything's hunky-dory. There's too many questions at this point. There's too much. And
just imagine Phil saying, hey, remember when your leg grew back? Not something you bring up in general conversation.
Well, I've been starting to dabble in writing fiction again, and I've had that question, how do you, if you're Peter Parker and you work for as a police CSI, and then all of a sudden
you died, you've legally died.
You are legally declared dead. I understand that. I think I made a joke during the Clone Saga Chronicles days about Aunt May being uninsurable because the amount of time she's died. But at this point, does he still get his pension? Does he how do you legally undeclare yourself?
He's being investigated for insurance fraud. No doubt.
He died and the house burned down.
Yeah,
and then you have your multi-millionaire godson rebuild the house. Again, there's so many questions that I have in that world where it's you could explore it, but it would take somebody that really knows the lore to bridge everything, which is what I've tried to do every time we've tried to review issues, is try to bridge it. But then it just leads to more of the amount of therapy May needs now. I'm not saying that, things weren't traumatizing in the original run by any means. There was a lot of dark moments, but this is beyond what that universe is used to. And it's I know the last time we saw her, unless I am mistaken, because I stopped reading the main comics just out of, I'm sorry. It's if you're not enjoying it, don't read it.
Yeah.
But when the last thing that I saw through Spider-Boy was because Spider-Boy started jumping through universes, because of course Slott did that, and it's very clear Mayday is fed up, but we see Peter in his spider suit, her in her spider suit in the living room, clearly have mid conversation with Mary Jane, and it's breakfast time. And I'm okay, so what the hell happened here? And then you have Peter literally putting his leg on the table, very nonchalant about everything.
I got a new leg on life.
And it's not even the right leg.
It's not even the right leg. Yeah. So I'm just like, what is like? If I was if I put myself in her shoes, I would just be like, what the hell is happening? Like, she's already dealt with all that trauma and all that grief of him passing, and then he's back, but he's not back because clearly there's something going on.
He's having like his third midlife crisis now that he's got both legs, and he's like, yeah, I can be Spider-Man again. And Mary Jane's like, no, you retired. No, but I can be Spider-Man again. But no.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying is like, that's such a...
And May's like, you gave me the mantle. Let me have it. Go away, Dad.
But
Either
it's all... But
he's in serious denial or
yeah.
he's going through something.
Yeah.
He's seriously going through something. And then you have like... Which, I mean, maybe the case is like... Because it looks like it's been a year since his death. So maybe the issue is like Benji doesn't recognize him. Maybe Benji only recognizes older photos.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But the whole point is like, there's something there. There is something there.
There's some...
But it is so...
Yeah.
It's such a different tone to the world now that I don't think can be fixed. Unless you do like some major reset, like I said, like college. I think it's just the easiest solution.
Yeah.
To kind of get back to normal, but it's also like you're still gonna have these gaps. You're still gonna you're gonna want to know how did we get from here to there. If a series was ever...
here.
Yeah. It's just it's all messed up. But it's fine, because, you know, when Marvel does actually reset it, they're just going to make it like the webcomic that from hell. Sorry, Stephanie Williams, but that was so bad.
Yeah. See,
I do wonder if they're not going to do what they did with the 2099 stuff and just mush it all together.
Yeah, like do a soft reboot of the whole universe. But at least with that, they brought back Peter David for it.
Yeah, I would hope that they would want to try to bring back Tom and Ron at least, but the issue at hand is it's Marvel. I don't know is necessarily Marvel's really only thinking about the IP. I don't really think they think about the contents at this point. It's just whatever can reset the IP so they have it for later.
You know, we talked about this a little bit on last night's episode of SDE, but I talked about how Marvel is essentially now an IP factory. The comics group is basically their entire goal is to try to create and do new stories with existing IP and create new IP along the way. And then they're going to turn around and adapt those newer stories, because that's been one of the more frustrating things that I've seen. I can go to Frogoat's blog and look at the influence, MCU influence on MC2 influence on the MCU.
There is so much.
Yeah, yeah. Like I clearly think
Kevin Feige is an MC2 fan for sure. That's why I think that's why he wants Spider-Man, because he wants a Spider-Girl series.
Well, we can dream.
We can dream. I think he'd be down.
To me, that would be like, in my opinion, if you could get a Sony Disney collaboration on a series for ABC or Disney Plus, and put it and do like a 5-season series of Spider-Girl, I think it would do fantastic numbers. And make it, like a not quite an ABC Family level like dramedy, but like family friendly dramedy.
Well, I mean, and I will say this, with that is you do have it with what we're seeing with Fantastic Four First Steps. I mean, the Funko Pops just leaked. There's a baby Franklin, so baby Franklin and Galactus is definitely the showdown we're getting. But obviously what we know is they're going to wind up in the MCU 616. I still hate calling it that. It is not the real 616, but I understand synergy. I understand why, because I think, what was it? It was like 0000009 or 00001.
1999 something.
Yeah, it was something crazy that they had originally done for it. So I understand 616 makes the most sense. It's the SEO alone on the number 616 will give you everything Marvel. So I understand. It's just confusing for me. But
but I also love that the Kamala Khan's, the actress that plays Kamala Khan, whose name just immediately escapes me.
Iman Vellani.
Yeah, Iman Vellani still argues with Kevin about that. It just makes me laugh because it sounds like a conversation.
She does have. I mean, she's written.
Yeah,
she's written comics. I love her. She's one of those people that, like, she got into the. I don't necessarily know how big of a fan she was before getting casted, but she is a diehard comic fan. I appreciate it.
Yeah. According to the Disney Plus Avengers Assembled stuff, that she was a pretty big fan prior to. So at least that's what they kind of portray it as. So
yeah. But yeah, no. I mean, what I was gonna say though is, like, we know that they somehow wind up in 616. So there's not necessarily between that and plus the multiverse situation with No Way Home. You have an opening for a multiverse series, and obviously I don't think that's what they're going to do, because we're literally going straight into Secret Wars, and I think that's where we're going to see. I mean, they've set it up where basically these different universes are collapsing and dying, because there needs to just be one. But obviously we know that I don't think that's where they're going to go. I think what they're going to wind up doing is it's going to explode the universes, so all of them get their universes back, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if they'll play around in Fox's X-Men universe. I think they'll have their own.
Yeah, I think they're gonna. I think what's gonna happen is we're gonna see a soft reboot.
Well, we will. Yeah,
with the X-Men being the primary and Fantastic Four being the primary focus. Avengers will be,
secondary. While they try to figure all of that out, but I think it's going to be more of a. It's going to be more of a, like, this all can be canon. This all is a valid canon point, because the average fan gets confused. I think that's a large reason why the MCU has the burnout it has. I mean, I just have it for the sheer amount of content, but it's the same. I realized it was the same situation. Do y'all remember when MCU first came out, and there were people that got into comics because of the movies, but they were saying, well, I prefer the movies because I understand it. Like, I can start from here. It's not as intimidating. I don't have to go back and read, 40 years of comics. I can just stick to this, and this is what I know. Well, now you miss one series, who knows what lore you're missing, and how that ties into the next movie or the next series. And it's become just like that comic intimidation. It's like, you miss one series, you're now intimidated to continue. I
mean, it's gotten to the point when I do my reviews for my normie friends that I literally say, you probably want to watch this and this to catch up and to refresh yourself. Now, and I think was it Kevin or not? It was Iger that came out and said it started to feel like, going to see an MCU movie was homework. You had to do a bunch of homework before you came in. And it's like, that was always the work. That's what everybody was screaming from the rooftops when they were talking about all this stuff back in
saying comic books were too hard to get into. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What do you think, Frogoat?
I usually hear that complaint from people who haven't watched much since Endgame, but by the same token, I went to see Thunderbolts with a friend recently, and afterwards, when we came out of the movie, he goes, I haven't watched anything in years, right? And he didn't have any trouble understanding it. So I think it depends on the approach you have when you deliver that particular piece of media.
It does, and that was one of the things I think I felt invigorated by Thunderbolts, because it was so different to what they had been doing. And like going from watching the Captain America movie, where you really wouldn't understand a single thing if you had not at least watched the Captain America series. I was still confused because I don't really recall Bucky Barnes winning the election. So I was
that happened. No, that happened off panel. That happened literally. Yeah, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. It happened all off panel land.
I just thought I missed it.
No, you didn't miss anything. It literally.
Apparently, it wasn't important enough to put on screen.
So
right, and it made zero. But then it happens, and you're like, "How did you win this?"
Yeah, you're in this. Yeah.
He looks like Sebastian Stan.
Well, I mean,
well, yeah, that's fair.
But at the same time, I'm like, there was a whole campaign. There was a whole subplot. Like, this is one of the times where you almost wish you had a series to kind of fill the gap in, because he makes the appearance in Captain America and he's running for Congress. And then we get to Thunderbolts and he's literally in Congress. And you're like, how?
I figured there was something in Daredevil, because I haven't watched the new season of Daredevil yet. And so that's why I was like, maybe there's something in passing and I totally just haven't gotten to it yet. But see, that's what I'm saying though, is like, we're now at this point where I'm sitting there going, okay, how did we go from here to here? Okay, I must have it's kind of like, I must have not found that issue yet.
Yeah. Which, I mean, on one hand, you can go back and the content is readily available on Disney Plus, but at the same time, it's like, yeah.
Well, you need a subscription. It's kind of high, very similar to the Netflix cost of the Marvel Unlimited subscription, which is also at this point. I mean, yes, everything's at your fingertips, but it is kind of high for a casual reader.
Yeah, the $10 a month. I mean, if you're doing the monthly fee, do they have Marvel Unlimited in Australia there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I have Marvel Unlimited, but with Disney Plus, it depends on which region you're in, because we don't have all of the Marvel shows down here. All of the Marvel Marvel movies down here.
Yeah. Oh, I guess probably because of international streaming rights.
Yeah.
I bet you they just haven't. They haven't. In fairness, Disney, I think, focused on the American rights first.
Yes.
And now they're
Incredible Hulk.
Yes. But it literally just got on Disney Plus like 6 months ago.
We still don't have it, which means homework for Brave New World is insufficient.
I understand that, and again, that
I was happy.
There's progress being made to make it accessible. Accessible. It's still behind a paywall, but it's hard when you're dealing with very strange streaming rights that
there is another
have no rhyme or reason. Okay, yes.
Speaking of there is another news bit, because Across the Spider-Verse now is in US Disney Plus. I just forgot.
Yes. For US that we know of. So not sure around the world, but the Sony streaming rights are seemingly aligned. I think they're mostly it's because they're aligned with Hulu to begin with.
Yeah.
And now Hulu is integrated with Disney Plus, so you get it on that Disney interface, which I would say anybody that has Hulu integrated with their Disney Plus, isn't it very weird turning on Disney Plus and seeing like just the nastiest horror movie possible next to Mickey Mouse?
We have Hulu included in our Disney Plus down here, and it's wonderful because I can watch Alien Romulus and then go watch Moon Girl.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's fantastic because it's like it's all on one interface, which makes it really easy. But then it's also surreal because it's like the Disney logo is right there. Like I'm sitting there going, okay, do I want to watch the Kardashians? And it's just the weirdest thing because I don't associate, even though they've been working with Disney for years. I'm like, I don't associate because they should not be selected for Disney.
Yeah. It's been 5 years since they joined Disney?
Yes, I think the contracts have been around for like 6, and they continue to have that relationship.
Well, I think it was more money because they were
It's an ABC. Yeah, it's an ABC thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say because like they were with NBC Universal with E, and then E I think is gonna get spun off and sold allegedly.
No, Comcast. I think Comcast isn't going to take that. If anything, they'll probably merge, like have a partnership with Paramount and Viacom. Which to me, I'm surprised that they hadn't merged before.
Yeah.
But no, they're still going to be under the Comcast umbrella. Comcast is not letting that go. I think people forget that. It's just like the only reason AOL Time Warner had to divest was because it was a little too big.
Well, and also the overvaluation of AOL.
Yeah,
was also just an absolute.
That had a lot. Yeah, that had a lot to do with it. But again, you know, WB probably won't be around in the next 20 years, but that's a whole other conversation.
That's because David Zaslav.
It's because of Zaslav, who is very clearly trying to speed run how to crash a company and then take the insurance money.
I mean, he's basically become Wile E. Coyote running into the side of a boulder. Company, but and then there was some rumors that they would, you know, Disney would come in and buy DC. And that's been a persistent rumor, and that honestly, because again, IP. Yeah, we
are now dealing, which we'll eventually be dealing with a post Iger Disney, but Iger Disney, the defining thing is buying IP, and it's almost like buying real estate. Buying IP, having that owned and controlled, to an extent controlled. I don't think they necessarily control Marvel in ways certain fans think that they do. Because personally, I think that Disney could give a little bit more oversight to some things. And maybe go, hey, maybe this is culturally and racially and gender specific, insensitive.
Yeah,
to say the least. You know, maybe somebody should come in and go, y'all do realize your fan base is not a boys club, right? But you know.
Yeah. So do we want to get into the news?
Yeah, since we're gonna kind of go backwards. So I will let you talk about the news, and then I will talk about my housekeeping, which is a very quick little warning to anyone who listens.
So I'm going to share a link from the subreddit because that was the first thing that popped up when I did my research. But so if you guys recall, last year we had talked about, in fact, I can go grab it, but we have Epic Book number 5, the modern Epic era collection. So Near Mint Condition has got a great relationship with Marvel, and they will occasionally send him, you know, early advanced solicitations. And so coming this November, we have finally issues 85 through 100 collected, as well as Spider-Man Family number 1. We've covered all these obviously on the show, but this now officially, if you have the complete collection trades and the modern era Epic collection trades, the first volume of Spider-Girl is finally going to be completely collected.
Finally got past issue 85.
We got past issue 72.
I know.
You know, so now
a long time for this.
Yeah.
We have been waiting a very, very long time for this. I'm excited for it. I just finally, a couple weeks ago, got both Epic Complete Collection 4 and Epic Book 5. Buddy of mine sent me the Epic Book number 5, but I realized I didn't have the fourth volume of the Complete Collection, and so I found a used copy on Amazon, and it was relatively inexpensive. So, but by the way, folks, it's hard to find a new copy of that particular.
It is. I don't think many copies really were made. And in fairness, the reason we have gotten here is thanks to the fans and the people that are actually pre-ordering and collecting it and buying it and showing them that it is viable to reprint these.
Yeah, I know there's some speculation in that thread about like what's next. We'll see. I don't know if they'll still use the modern era Spider-Girl modern era collection at the collection branding for Amazing Spider-Girl. They could.
I have a feeling it'll probably be a good bit, probably at least a year or two.
Yeah.
And then maybe if everyone asks and bugs them nicely, we might be able to see some a reprint of Amazing Spider-Girl, because Amazing Spider-Girl did get
the trade paperback.
All of it did get the trade paperbacks. So we might see a reprint, maybe two separate kind of volumes of that.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be nice. And then maybe one other volume with the end and the spectacular minis. Maybe we'll finally get all of the webcomic in print, because not all of it has been reprinted.
Yeah.
So I would say if we just kind of keep on them, not meanly though, not say I demand this, but just say, hey, wouldn't it be nice if we could also get this just to complete this collection? But I have a feeling they'll stop calling it Epic Collection, especially knowing the Disney ties and Universal now using Epic for their new theme park. But we'll see what they call it at that time.
Yeah. I know the Epic imprint was one that they had created in the 80s.
Yeah.
With Jim Shooter, and that's kind of why
don't give Disney legal ideas to sue.
Sorry.
They'll sit there and be like, hey, actually Marvel created the word epic.
my bad. Frogoat's probably gone.
Oh yeah. The theme park. Anyway, no, let's be fair. But yeah, so it's really exciting. We are completing it.
Frogoat, what do you think about this? And have you gotten these particular collections?
Oh yeah, I've been getting all of the Epic collections, and before that, the complete collection. I'm really looking forward to Volume 6 because it does reprint the Spider-Man family story with Aranya, so that's good.
Yeah. What I liked about Volume 5 was they gave you the covers without the trade dress inside it.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't do that on the complete collections, but on at least Volume 5, they did without the trade dress. So you get to see all that Ron Friends art without the Spider-Girl logo and all the Marvel stuff. So I thought that was really nice.
That will be very, very helpful.
Yeah, I'm sure, for somebody that probably does a lot of, scanning of images, it's a lot easier to be able to disseminate them on the internet, Marvel. Fair use, buddy. Fair use. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited about that. Legitimately, I think that to have the first volume finally get collected was something that we have been screaming from the rooftops, even going back, truthfully, to the 2014 when we started Make Mayday Monday. Excuse me. I'm going to always do that Freudian slip.
I mean, that's fine. We are Make My Mayday is technically way farther ahead than Mayday Mondays.
Ever did
about this. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean the fact that we, and I know Frogoat was a fan of Mayday Mondays as well, and
so was I.
I wasn't saying you weren't.
I know.
Yeah.
I just feel like I have to bring that in whenever I'm like, well, my show is complete. But I was a fan of Mayday Mondays originally. Frogoat, I don't know if you are aware of this, but originally we were going to redo Mayday Mondays, and things, of course, scheduling conflicts, just things didn't work out, which is how Make Mine Mayday came to be. But I was going to be in the background just helping them try to schedule episodes and get everything straight.
Yeah.
So
this is better. It's a fresh start.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fresh start.
Yeah.
And we, I talked to you a little bit before we got on live, and I'm so damn proud of this show and what Kelly and I have been able to accomplish, and I'm thankful for people like you, Frogoat, who have continued to be torchbearers
Yeah.
I feel like we are, a rarer breed now because we you've served as such a bridge from those message board guys.
Yeah, I mean, really, Frogoat, you have, because the thing is most people or most fans today, especially the ones that are finding the character after the movie with Baby Mayday, or are just finding her through stumbling, into Spider-Verse, or just stumbling onto what spider can I cosplay. They wouldn't be able to get the information that they need without your blog and without the subreddit. And so that's it's definitely bridged that gap to keep the fandom alive and thriving. Yes, it does sometimes feel like we go very small, or maybe you feel the same way I do. Sometimes I feel like I'm constantly going, "Hey guys, I realize y'all think this is funny because it's some Gen Z humor that I don't get, but here's let me guide you towards like some actual comic accurate things." So sometimes it feels like I'm shepherding, and I'm sure that you feel that way too. But it's also it's nice to have people engaged, and it's nice to have people excited about the series. And of course, like I said, you have a major point to that because it's how people are stumbling onto the series. So thank you, Frogoat.
Well, I mean, thank you guys. I think it's just important that the fandom's so inclusive and inviting and friendly for the most part. Like, you want people to come to the character with all these fresh takes and things like that, but you also want them to understand where they've come from. Like, it didn't start from nothing. So
exactly,
it's lovely. It's lovely to see a whole new generation, the MC2 of our own lives, I guess. So yeah,
it's nice, and it's also like it's kind of it's one of those things where it's like you're starting to realize it's like, no, these kids are taking this character on. They're going to be the new torchbearers at some point.
I feel a bit like Peter.
Yeah. you start to feel your age for sure. But it's nice to see that the character, I think the character will be in good hands as long as everybody remembers that this is really the fandom that could. This is the fandom that didn't give up. And yeah. So it's very nice. Yes, I see this 8. Okay, it's an 8-inch figure. I don't know why I kept thinking it was 12 inches. I like the box is in the garage. So
yeah, so I went ahead and went to the Spider-Girl subreddit and pulled this up. For those that are audio listeners, I am displaying the box, the Spider-Girl unbox. So yeah. So
all right, I guess I need to at least touch base on housekeeping, which is just I was sent the other day some strange screenshots. Somebody had thought that it was really a photo of Maid of Might from her, I believe it was 2014 Spider-Girl costume. Like this is an old Maid of Might costume, but there is a picture that does look very similar to one of my pictures, and somebody just thought it was me, which is a compliment, but it was not me. But somebody used Maid of Might, who's a fairly well-known cosplayer, used her old photos of Mayday and had made a X-rated AI chatbot. And I just want to remind anybody listening, one, do not input anything into any AI chatbot or chat room. Don't use ChatGPT, because all it's doing is training a computer program to take over a job, including these X-rated bots. It's a little creepy and weird especially if you are using someone's photo that you definitely did not get permission to use. It's gross. And the fact that that's out there, and I know that, is gross. So yeah, warning, don't do that. That's weird. Don't input that. Like, you don't know where that's going. You don't know where that's being stored. You don't know how that's actually going to be used against you later. And it will be used against you later.
Yeah.
Skynet is real. Go watch Terminator and Terminator 2. Sarah Connor would be really upset with you.
So
and yeah, that's
so
all I'm
did,
just touching base, because we don't need to make it a bigger conversation than it is.
Yeah, I did pull up
the Made
yes
costume. Yeah.
So this is
So I think somebody's used it because it has been, like, people have stolen it, like AliExpress, Temu. They've stolen it for the costume. The reason I know it is because it is my costume. So the designer is the same. However, as I've talked about ad nauseum, I had a little bit extra things added to the costume to make it more comic, like to make the print on the Zentai suit more comic accurate. I also, my material is a lot thicker than that one. I don't know where Made of Might got hers printed and made, but the company I used, not saying it's not higher quality, you can just see that that's very thin in her photos.
Yeah.
So like I said, there's a lot of differences, not to mention hers is one suit. I have boots, I have gloves.
Yeah.
You
have your own custom.
I tried to do everything as comic accurate as possible. Hers was just she probably was given a free suit. To be honest, not knocking her. I'm not saying, because she's never struck me as the biggest comic book fan, but she is a big cosplayer. But anyway, that photo gets stolen a lot.
Yeah.
So I really don't think she gave permission for them. It also had, like, the weirdest thing about it was also, like, it had a voice chat. From those screenshots had a voice chat. So, like, what it was saying, like, there's somebody's voice that has been plugged into the AI voice bot. And now I don't know if it's Made of Might. I don't know if it's somebody else's. But that means, like, somebody could talk and hear this out of that AI chatbot. And that's why I was like, that is so
gross,
nasty. Because it's almost like, oh, I'm on the phone with Mayday. And she's saying that to you?
No.
And like I said, I'm not going into what was said because it was gross.
Yeah, it was bad enough to see it.
So again, just a reminder.
We see some weird shit since this show started that we can't unsee it.
We can't unsee it. But yeah, no, guys, please just a reminder. I know you want to be able to say you're friends with Mayday. I understand wanting to have that connection. I understand thinking that AI can give you that. But generative AI is currently a very lawless wasteland that steals anything you're inputting, anything you're importing, any photo, any piece of art, it steals YouTube scripts.
Yeah.
It's anything you input into it, it is stealing to regurgitate back to you or to somebody else. That's not a conversation. That's not connection. It's just a computer doing what it was told.
It's literally her. The movie Her with I mean, it literally is.
But it's a very strange thing, and I also think just using a real person's photo is very disgusting.
Yeah.
So
especially without their consent. I mean,
yeah.
Just no. Okay.
Yeah. So just remember that when you're using it.
Yeah.
Please.
AI can be a wonderful tool if used responsibly, but with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
yes and no. I will also say, because there is a great point. There's a great point here. So the three of us, we kind of dealt, which I don't know how bad the recession was of 2008 in Australia, Frogoat, but in the US it was pretty bad. And Zach was in college. I was about to go into college, and everything that happened in that recession really changed our lives and how we've had to work. And, because essentially that recession caused a lot of people that should have retired and moved out of their roles to keep their roles. It also caused, when those people lost their jobs, companies were then increasing the entry-level jobs to have those people's experiences, which then made it harder for us coming out of college to get a entry-level job to grow in a company that we had always been told would happen. That is what's happening with AI. Like, all these kids that are like using AI, besides the fact that they're just losing all comprehension because they just go, oh, here's this question, I'm going to input this in and I'm going to get this answer. You're not actually learning anything, and you're relying too heavily on something that is user-based, for one thing. But in general, like, they're doing that and they're writing essays with it. They're not getting set up, but I don't think they realize that what they're putting in is training this tool to then take over the job force.
Yeah.
So then these people that are using it to graduate college are not going to be able to find their jobs, because then the entry-level jobs are going to be replaced by AI.
And even with that too, you also have people that are using it to graduate college, and then
they're not prepared, and
they're completely unprepared once they get out. And I mean, you went to secondary school and college there, Frogoat, with your profession, so you understand. Like, it's not easy. And what you know, right?
Well, even it's too, what doesn't like equate. You can put things into chat experience, like Chat GPT, all day long. That's not going to give you the experience.
No,
it's not.
And that's, and I think we can all speak to, in general, the largest help you can have in this job industry is having experience.
I mean, literally, my job now as an admissions representative for a trade school, because most people, when they hear the name of my employer, they think cosmetology, and we do. We have a sizable cosmetology wing, and cosmetology is bread and butter. But we also have an HVAC program. We also have an electrical program, and we're right now building the campus out, and we're building areas simply to do that hands-on work. That work is still going to be very necessary. I know it gets hotter than the sun over there in Australia. I know it gets hotter than the sun in Texas and in Georgia. So guess what? We need HVAC to be able to just live comfortably. And you can't do that. AI can't do that. A robot can't do that. Right.
Well, but that's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's what they want to learn. But like I said, what I'm saying is just, nobody seems to understand it's not as innocent as they think. And it's, also too, just in general with jobs, you can graduate. Like, if you get past it, okay, great. But what are you going to do when you're at that job? And because I know most jobs I have, I wasn't necessarily trained. You get orientation, and then they're expecting you to do what you were hired to do. You can't rely on Chat GPT to do everything. And you definitely, will get caught at some point if you rely too heavily on technology that's not built for that yet. But you're also help speed running it, and also speed running killing the universe. So, but anyway, so
on that dystopian
on
note.
this dystopian note. But again, just guys, it's a lot like the, maybe don't send us links to corn. Don't do it. Just
please,
Don't do it. Don't do it with Mayday, at least. Like, please.
Yeah.
Please.
She's 16. It's gross.
It's gross. It's just we can't
But-
unsee some things.
Yeah, so
Well,
that's really all I had. We don't really have an idea for the next episode. So send in your suggestions. I would love to continue to talk about or talk to other fans and kind of
Hear their superhero.
hear their superhero origins. And like I said, the original idea for Make Mine Mayday was to bring in the fandom history, and that means the people who keep it alive.
Yeah, like Frogoat. And
Like Frogoat.
yeah, Frogoat, we really do appreciate you being on. I know you were a little nervous because this is your first podcast, so hopefully the experience was a lovely one. It certainly was a lovely one from our end. I know.
Yeah.
I think I can speak for Kelly on that. I really appreciate your insight. And if you want to have things, like if you're going to go watch if you have not watched Thunderbolts, I was going to share the screen. I was going to show this. Go find this blog, bookmark it on in your browser. I mean, Frogoat gives you, kind of a breakdown of what should you watch? Where if you want to start completely cold and just watch the essential movies in the MCU and how the MCU connects with the MC2 and all that fun stuff. It's all over at frogoat.blogspot.com. Link will be down in the description below. Any final parting words there, Mr. Frogoat?
Thank you for asking me to come on, and I don't know. Until next time.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Yeah, you are welcome anytime. The invitation is open, so if you ever want to jump on, you are always welcome back here on the program. So
thank you.
All right, guys. Well, with that, let me do my standard Patreon thanks that I do every episode. Got to thank our patrons as we get out of here. Patreon.com/Spideydude Network. We got Allison, Cindy, Casey, Doug, Ed, Eric, Georgia, Greg, Janelle, Jessica, Joyce, Catherine, Kale, Laura Howard, Lump Moose, Master Draman, Phoenician, RJ, Vanessa, and Vicky. Thank you guys for your support. We got our spectacular patrons and Sarah and Tara, our VIPs and Vinkman and Walter. And you see up on the screen, if you're watching us on YouTube, the friendly neighborhoods here, but they're going to get an audio shout out at the beginning of the episode. So thank you guys for all of your support over on the Patreon page, patreon.com/Spideydude Network. We did have a lovely interview with Greg Weisman. If you have not checked it out here on the channel, it is about an hour and a half long, and we talk a lot about the we talk all about the Spectacular Spider-Man from the beginning and kind of go through a lot of great insights, I think, in the episode. If you have not already checked it out, we got our other fine shows here on the Spideydude Radio Network, like the one that started it all, Clone Saga Chronicles and Spectacular Radio. We got more episodes of Voices from the Eerie just also dropped this week, so they've got one in the can, and they got one more to record. We just launched our 5th season of the Spideydude Experience. Go watch that if you're wanting to catch up on the latest volume 7 of Amazing Spider-Man with Joe Kelly. You can check out our thoughts. We'll be back next week with the second episode, 3rd and 4th issues of the title. And of course, we got Books of X, which is part of the Patreon page as a Patreon perk. So if you want to check us out on the social medias, you can go find us at Facebook at Spideydude Radio, Spideydude Network. Twitter, you can find me at Spideydude Radio. You can find at Make Mine Mayday also on Twitter. You got YouTube, youtube.com. If you're listening to us on the audio edition, go find us on the YouTube page, like, share, and subscribe to it. We also are on Instagram and TikTok and all the social medias. So check us out, find us there, and get all the updates to all of the shows. I want to thank Kelly, as always, for hosting the show, and want to thank again Aaron for being our guest. So with that, we'll see you next time here on the Spideydude Radio Network.